The world has a women's sports problem. I didn't even film an intro. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenna. Give this crumb a smidge of context for people, especially if you've been watching some of the videos I've been putting out as of late. This is very different from what I've done so far, but it's something I'm super passionate about and really want to talk about. So, some background. Played hockey for like 16 years, I want to say, and I've been a goalie for 12. So that's where some of this fun personality comes from, as being a goalie. I really feel I can add an opinion into some of the mess that is women's sports. There's a lot of takes from elite female athletes. Just a washed up goalie trying to make it in the world, man. Still trying to make it in the big leagues. As of late, if you're on Twitter and you're kind of on the sports side of Twitter, there has been a huge blow up for the National Women's Hockey League, which is currently hosting its first bubble season in Lake Placid. Hi, Editor Jenna here. So I'm awful at being on top of things, and school got a little busy, so this video is about a week and a half or something behind. The bubble has since concluded for the season. It was unfortunately shut down due to COVID protocol. So some of the stuff I talk about is current to when I was filming, but is technically now out of date. I'm sorry. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. This is not their first season, contrary to many people's beliefs. The NWHL has been around for 7 seasons, I believe, and it is a different league than the CWHL, which was started in 2007 and folded in 2018 and was in Canada, where the CWHL was the Canadian Women's Hockey League. Both leagues operated separate of each other when they were both operating. So I'm primarily going to be talking about hockey because I'm a hockey player and I know the leagues and I understand hockey, but this definitely probably could apply to a lot of other women's sports such as basketball, soccer. All women's sports deserve to be recognized. People need to support women's athletes. Female athletes just want to be able to be recognized for their ability to be an elite athlete. It's not about replacing professional men's sports. It's not about beating professional men in sports. It is about beating professional women. It is about battling against other elite level players for an ultimate goal and to possibly actually be able to make a living while doing this because you enjoy this so much. Does that sound familiar for anybody? Because I'm sure lots of people have had that dream. It doesn't matter what gender. Women's athletes face so much harassment online. I think it is a common experience for a lot of female athletes. Every time we see something shared from a mainstream sports media group regarding some sort of female competition or female sport or an athlete, a lot of us check the comments.
You stupid.
And I know this could be easily avoided by not checking the comments, but at the same time, we can't just ignore it. The amount of harassment and just gross comments are ridiculous, and I know they're trolls, and I know they're trying to get a rise out of people, and I understand that it's all just people, it's insecure people, but at the same time, it's incredibly disappointing when somebody at the top of the sport, whether it's Serena Williams in tennis, women in hockey, women in basketball, WNBA players, people love to shit on women's sports. People think it is the best thing to do. And something doesn't want me talking about this. Kind of going... We got some tangents everywhere because nobody cares. Most of our leagues are complete dog shit, especially if you stream your games on Twitch. My favorite one of all is, well, they wouldn't have filled seats anyways, even if COVID-19 wasn't around. This is the biggest feminazis joke ever. Women just can't let us guys have anything. They attack us, our sports, our comics, our movies, and even our video games. They even have to have our beards. And that last one I literally do not understand. Women have been playing many of these popular sports since before the 1900s. Women joined into the university leagues. I believe it was in 1890 for hockey. Never mind any of these other more popular sports. But soccer, basketball, women have been playing these for just as long as men in a lot of cases. So the fact that people want to say that sports aren't for women is absolutely ridiculous. This is not meant to be a whole ranting commentary of why you should have undying support for female sports. I mean, you should still support female sports. I want to talk about the issues that are faced, but at the same time, the realistic standards that we need to set for ourselves. We still don't deserve half of the shit that's thrown our way. We don't deserve it. Men in sports are supported in a lot more ways in the past. It has gotten better. I will not deny in any way, shape, or form. Society has gotten better at supporting women in sport. But the issue is that the idea of seeing women succeed and use talent and athletic skill to live their life with the sport is not met with the same open arms. It's more met with this idea that, no one cares, go home, my 12-year-old could do better than you. People beat this all the time. Why are people excited for the women? There's no point in watching, they don't make any money, it's not as interesting. And in some ways, this can be true. However, there's that line between holding women at the same standard of an elite male athlete to completely comparing them one for one on talent, skill, and ability. My hot take might be spicy, it might be really dry, I don't know. Women are not trying to replace men in sports. So have no fear. The so-called feminazis and women who just want to be professional athletes are not here to take your video games and your manly things. We just want to be able to be recognized for our same equivalent talent. And I don't think that's a lot to ask. The fact that many of these athletes at the top level of pro sports and women train just as hard as the men in the top leagues and put as much hours and as much dedication and are at the peak of their ability and at the peak of women talent in those sports, why is that discounted to the men that are at the peak of their ability in men's sports? And yes, there is the science. Men are biologically going to do things differently. So that's part of the problem. And say with, for example, women's hockey, people need to realize that we are playing the same sport as men, but we are still playing a completely different game. Women's hockey is different than men's hockey. Men's hockey has hitting, and that's what a lot of people complain about. Oh, there's no hitting, it's boring. If you've ever watched how aggressive those women are, there's hitting. No, there's not full-on body checking, it's pretty damn close. Women play hockey in a different sense. There's a lot more creative thinking. Since women can't shoot as hard, the players had to get better at getting from breaking out on the outer edges to breaking into the zone and to getting into the house. Versus men, when you are 6'3", you can rip a hard shot from anywhere on the outside from the blue line and you can get that. Why is this detrimental to our sport? It's not a bad thing. I think it's a great example of showing the difference between male and female athletes. They both have their different abilities that are showcased in our game. Just because we can't throw bodies and there's no fighting in women's hockey does not mean that it is not as interesting or skilled as men's hockey. Why is there such a resistance to women being successful in sports? And I don't have the answer, which might be the whole point of maybe why you clicked on this video. Maybe she has the answer. I don't have the answer. Nobody has the answer. And part of it, it's not just men. Women, we are almost as bad as the men when it comes to our success in sports. And I'm going to talk about this strictly in women's hockey. The amount of infighting and gatekeeping that goes on in women's hockey, I am familiar with, I've experienced it myself, and I've seen it many times because I follow women's hockey. But that does not mean it does not exist in other professional women's sports. So I don't want to talk about specifically the whole drama with the NWHL and Barstool. I haven't looked into it hard enough. I'm not educated enough on it, and I really don't think it's fair to make a comment or make a stand without having an actual research behind it. I've only half-assed followed the Twitter issues and some of the stuff on Instagram. Not the thing I'm talking about today, but it still kind of wraps around the fact that women in hockey are incredibly gatekeeping. After the CWHL shut down, a lot of players went from the Canadian Women's Hockey League to the NWHL. The NWHL expanded this year, adding a team in Toronto, the Toronto Six. The PWHA was a group of players that pulled out of the NWHL because they felt that they were not being adequately compensated. PWHA players left the NWHL in a protest/demonstration to show that they want better conditions and they want a better league. And the majority of P players in the PWPHA are Olympians, and so In a way, this gave an opportunity for a lot of girls who might have been on the cusp of being an Olympian and never made the camps, or girls that were elite in their universities and they just never were on the radar of Team USA or Team Canada hockey. So they got to play. So now there's a lot of girls in this NWHL that are extremely talented players. And it's not a bad thing to want more. It sucks some of the things that these players experience in the NWHL. A lack of proper dressing rooms, having to pay for commuting to some of these farther away games, and at the same time then you still work a full day job, not getting compensated for any sort of equipment. It sucks, especially when it's supposed to be a professional league. However, the creation of another league, I really do feel, and I don't know if this is a bad idea for making this a public statement, but I feel like there is just so much of a us versus them dynamic now, and it doesn't do women's hockey any favors. By creating this us versus them dynamic, and this was happening when the CWHL was still around. It was pick this professional women's league or pick them. And the problem is sponsors are still really, it's not a tested and proven league, so sponsors are wary. So when you say you have to pick one of our leagues and then they have to pick one over the other, either they don't, or maybe they do pick both and the dollars are split. There's not that much money to go around. So by creating further divide, you're making sponsors choose, and then therefore you're making players in a way choose. I have seen beef between players on two different, like some of these different factions, and it's like, we're all working towards the same common goal. And I know I know the ultimate goal for everybody is that we want to be able to be paid to be a professional athlete. We want to be able to display and show that we can be a league that is equivalent to the NHL in a women's hockey sense. Not replacing men's hockey. I'm going to keep emphasizing that. We are not here to replace men's hockey. We are here to create and show our equivalent of a product. Women want to come over to men's sports because we don't get the recognition in female sports. Sarah Fuller is a female who was on a national championship winning soccer team, who became the kicker for the varsity football team. Many people blamed this on feminism, pandering, a stunt. Many didn't understand why she was chosen as the kicker. Because she's talented. Because she's a damn good athlete. That's why. The coach, I guarantee you, the coach didn't just go rocking around and pick some random female out of the crowd saying, I need you to be my kicker. This girl is a national championship winning soccer player. A soccer goalie, actually. So she already is more athletic than a very large pool of possible candidates, in all honesty. So it could have been something as simple as the coach saw her kicking and went, wow, that's a damn good kick. And it went from there. I really firmly believe that this was not a virtue signal. And many people will disagree with me. That's fine. That's part of being on the internet and having a discussion. There's disagreeing and there's full out being an asshole. I can be both. I don't sympathize with the people who say really mean things about these things, but I do in a way see their frustration because women are being celebrated for some very basic things in the sport, which is fair. Because somebody making a kick normally is not a big deal. Somebody playing on a pro team in some ways is not a big deal. However, when there is so little room for us to grow on our own side in women's sports, of course that these elite talents are going to push over because they want to be able to see how far they can go. And they're given that opportunity. Why should you shame them for that? Why should they be faulted for that? And I understand it's not, it's not traditional and it's upsetting. And it's upsetting as a female athlete because it makes you sad that there is no equivalent competition for these absolutely all-star, that upper 1% of athletes that deserve to be able to compete with each other, that deserve to be able to be recognized for that amount of talent. The media struggles with that because the way that sometimes it was portrayed that Sarah Fuller was a random girl they pulled off the street. It was difficult for a lot to mention the fact that she won the national championship with her soccer team just weeks prior to joining the football team. She's an athlete. She's an elite athlete. And she should be recognized for that. And it's really sad that a woman will get more recognition for a minor role she plays in a men's sport or something, a groundbreaking event on a men's team, than she ever will get recognition for her talents and her accomplishments in a sport that she's played on the women's side for her entire life. And that's really sad because we should be recognized for the talent that they've displayed their whole lives. This has been all over the place. Oh my god. This is really going to be hard to edit. There's a major struggle and elitist platform in women's hockey. And I don't want to sound like I'm saying we should be thankful for what we get, but in some ways we should be. Because things don't happen overnight. And it sucks. And that's just, it's not just the way it is, but right now it is. Things aren't going to happen overnight. We're not going to get 80,000 people crowds. Like, it's not, I mean, nobody's getting crowds right now. I feel that the sport really needs to come together and just slow down, bring women together. Because right now there's such a blatant divide in who's the right women's hockey player to support, who's the right team to support, who's the right league to support. And the problem is, this creates, for people from the outside, nobody knows, because all they do is like, oh, maybe I'm interested in looking at this, and then they see this petty infighting and the tearing apart on the inside from people who have been doing this for years, and they probably don't want to deal with it because they're like, well, I don't want to feel like I'm going to be a bad fan for choosing this league, or I don't want to feel like I'm wasting my time because I'm being told that the best players aren't in this league, even though there are equally talented players. And I know people, I see lots of people saying, no offense, but this isn't the league with the best players. They're still equally talented players, and just because you don't know their names from the Olympics does not mean that they are just as good players. And I understand it's a big deal that these big names left because they are big names for a reason. So I think the ultimate point I want to make, really want to ask the question of, why are people so against women succeeding in sports? I do say 99.9% of athletes that are women are not trying to replace male sports. We just want to be able to coexist with them in our leagues. We want to be able to be recognized for our equal amount of work, blood, sweat, tears, and talent. We as a community in women's hockey need to stop gatekeeping so much. We need to think past the next 5 years in regards to professional women's hockey. Because a lot of these main players are going to be gone. They're going to be retired, married, having kids. That's fine. But the fact of the matter is, we are not setting up a successful platform to keep growing in the future with women's hockey. We are doing the exact opposite of that. My kind of only opinion on the Barstool and WHL thing is that I'm a very big believer in facts, obviously. Like, you need to have merit to accuse people of some major things. But people, when you see those tweets, just don't... You can't hate the players. You can be upset with the league, and I understand technically when you watch a stream or watch a TV, they're on TV, the league gets paid. But at the end of the day, by watching and supporting the players, you're still growing the game. You can have your issues with the people behind the scenes. So it's as easy as like the NHL. There's some GMs that people friggin' hate, and there's owners that people hate, but they still support their team. Because the players are not the owner. The players are not the GM. The players are not the media. End of the day, talented players that have dedicated their life to this sport deserve to be recognized. I'm not saying players deserve to make millions of dollars right now with no questions asked. That's not going to happen, and that's not realistic. But gradually building in to where to make enough money that you don't have to work a day job for these players, even something as basic as that is a great start. And the CWHL tried this and failed. And this has been tried before by some of the leagues to pay players. And unfortunately, the income is just not there right now. Am I just a ranting, raving lunatic? I really think ultimately the idea here is people need to look at women's sports with a bit of a different lens until they're used to it. The games are different. Women have adapted differently to the game due to different attributes that we have from men. And that's totally fine. So next time you watch a women's hockey game, and try not to look at it and compare it face value to the NHL product. Because it's not the NHL, and that is fine. And that no way are we trying to say that. Recognize that it is damn good hockey. Just take the time to recognize that it is going to be a little different. And if at the end of the day you can't get past that, that's fine. From the athlete perspective, I really think we need to actually present a unified front to the consumer, to the market, to people who are not women's hockey fans, who have never watched women's hockey. Because when we present a product that is so divided and so gate-kept on the elite levels, people don't want anything to do with it. It looks super unprofessional. And when people feel like they have to decide between leagues, when they're new to the sport or new to supporting women's hockey, they might not choose at all. We might lose fans. This was really ranty. This video was kind of all over the place. I'll get off my soapbox now. It's just really frustrating to try to grow and support a game for years and just to see people treat it awful. Just the divide that's created in women's hockey. At the end of the day, I think this is what a lot of us want, is just to see professional women's hockey and professional women's sports be viewed with at the very least the same respect. I really do feel that women should be able to make a living off of a professional sport. And I know it'll take time, and I know that this it'll take a lot, it'll be a lot of work on a lot of fronts, but I truly believe we are different. We are not trying to replace professional sports centered on men. We're just trying to carve our own niche in a sport that has been played for decades upon decades by women as well as men. I feel like I said all I have to say, but it was so scatterbrained, I don't even know. And maybe I repeated the same thing 15 times, it's very possible. But thank you for watching. Let me know down in the comments if you agree or disagree with anything I had to say, or if you have anything to build off of points. Liked what I had to say, subscribe. I'm hoping to do some more content like this in the future. I just love the word content. But like structure. I had a structure. I had it all broken down in my head of what I wanted to do. And as soon as I sat down, that just went out the window. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all the support I get, and I really, really do hope that some people provide some feedback in the comments below. Don't forget to like. And if you really want to subscribe, you can unsubscribe at any time. It's perfectly free. As always, thank you for your support. I'm so, so, so grateful. Doesn't matter how small. It matters so much to me, and I will see you next time. You're really selling your case here.